Iskoolmates, kahit na ang karamihan ay nakatutok sa sitwasyon ng COVID-19, may ilan pa ring patuloy ang pagmamanman sa kondisyon ng ating kalikasan. Ayon nga sa ilang pagsusuri, lumalabas na nakatulong ang lockdown sa pagbaba ng nitrogen dioxide levels, carbon emissions at iba pang air pollutants. Pero sapat na ba ito para sabihing naghihilom na ang ating inang kalikasan? Upang ipaliwanag sa atin kung ano ang climate crisis at kung ano ang maaari nating gawin upang mapabuti ang kalagayan ng ating kapaligiran, narito si Ms. Mitzi Tan from the Youth Advocates for Climate Action in the Philippines o YACAP. And magandang araw po, Ms. Mitzi.
Magandang araw, hello.
Ano po ba ang gusto nyong greeting? Isang makakalikasan na araw?
Pwede na yan, isang makakalikasang araw sa inyong lahat.
Gawa-gawa lang po ako dito. Pero Ms. Mitzi, simulan ko yung katanungan ko sa'yo. We want to know, ano po ba ang ibig sabihin ng climate crisis? Kasi familiar tayo sa climate change, global warming, pero ano ang climate crisis?
So yung climate crisis, yun nga naman talaga yung climate change. Yung pag-change lang ng term sa kanya to use climate crisis ay para mas makita din ng mga tao at ng mga people in charge, yung mga world leaders natin, government leaders natin, na crisis nga itong kinakaharap natin. So ano ba yung meaning nito? Sinabi na ng Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change na in 10 years, by 2030, if hindi magbago yung system natin of doing things, maabot na natin yung upper limit ng increase of global average temperature natin. In where ang mangyayari ay, kunyari yung nangyari nung Yolanda, magiging normal na yon. Yung ganun ka-intense na ulan, yung sobrang init ng panahon, yung impacts ng climate change, although nararanasan na natin siya ngayon pa lang, at that mark, mas mahihirapan tayong mag-adapt, mas malala yung mga effects at mas mahihirapan yung, lalo na yung mga taong nasa vulnerable sectors natin.
Alright. Ms. Mitzi, bago tayo magpatuloy dyan, balikan ko lang, ang climate crisis, kaya it is simultaneously used pag sinasabi natin ang climate change. Tama? Ito yung kinaharap nating problema with regard to environment. Pero klaruhin ko lang, kasi I remember back in college, in my archaeology class, sabi sa akin ng prof ko, climate change is not new. Hindi bago sa atin ang climate change. It's been happening for years. Pero ang problema is global warming. Yung patuloy na pag-init ng mundo in a higher state. Tama? Tama ba ang aking pagkaka-explain dito?
Yung pag-init ng mundo, yung global warming, isa lang siyang factor ng climate change, and climate change has a lot of things happening, and yes, matagal na siyang nangyayari, and dapat matagal natin siya ginawa ng paraan, kaya siya crisis, kasi even back then, crisis na siya, pero ngayon lang yung talagang clear na we have 10 years left, and 2020 daw supposedly yung peak of carbon dioxide emissions all over the world sa atmosphere, tas dapat pababa na tayo from after this year. So ito yung parang crucial stage na kailangan na talagang pag-usapan yung climate crisis.
Okay. Naintindihan natin. So aside from, sabi mo, global warming, itong pag-init ng mundo, what constitute climate crisis? Ano ang mga nararanasan natin na bahagi ng climate crisis?
So, yung pagbago din ng weather patterns around the world. So, in the Philippines, kunyari, meron na tayong mga studies na nakikita na dati yung Mindanao na hindi naman naapektuhan ng mga storms. Sila na ngayon yung nakakaranas ng ganitong malalakas na storms na since hindi naman in the past sila usually na nahihit ng mga storms na to, mas hirap at mas vulnerable yung people doon para sa pag-adapt kasi hindi naman sila usually affected by these storms before. And makikita din natin yung water levels natin bumababa. Just recently, I think late 2019, nagkaroon tayo ng water crisis in Manila din na sobrang daming schools and cities and homes na naapektuhan ng water crisis na hanggang ngayon, some people are still coping with that, with the effects of that na minsan wala pa rin water in a lot of areas. And outside the city, that's an everyday reality. Like a lot of people don't have access to clean water. According to 2015, over 8 million Filipinos have no access to water, and only 57% of irrigable lands can be irrigated sa Philippines.
Okay. So, Ms. Mitzi, sinasabi mo, ito yung mga problema na kinaharap natin na may kinalaman sa tubig, water, land, air, at hindi lang ito nangyayari sa Pilipinas pero sa buong mundo. Kabilang, tama ba, kabilang din dyan yung mabilis na rate na pagkatunaw ng yelo ng mga glaciers. Tama. So ito ay indikasyon na dahil sa patuloy na pag-init ng mundo, ay pag natunaw to, what would happen?
Andito din yung sea level rising na dahil yung glaciers ay nagme-melt at yung ice constituting the glaciers isn't salt water, so tataas yung level ng seas. And syempre, ang pinaka-affected doon ay yung mga island countries. So isa na yung Philippines, where actually yung rate ng pag-sea level rise natin is actually a lot faster than the global average. And yung problem pa dyan is bacteria or viruses na nandyan sa loob ng mga glaciers na pwedeng makakause din ng mga future pandemics and sicknesses.
Alright. Miss Mitzi, ipagpatuloy ko lang sa mga problemang kinaharap natin ngayon with regard to climate crisis. Meron tayong tinatawag na climate justice, hindi po ba? Ano po ang climate justice at ano ang kinalaman nito sa climate crisis?
So, climate justice is a term na nagre-recognize ng historical, ng responsibility ng iba-ibang countries. So, yes, lahat tayo, lahat ng tao, lahat ng countries may responsibility at may inambag para mangyari yung climate crisis. Pero historically, kung titignan natin, may mga certain countries talaga na in the run of history, sila yung mas maraming kinontribute sa greenhouse gas emissions and sila yung mas maraming kinontribute sa climate crisis. So, ito yung mga first world countries, yung mga global carbon majors yung tawag sa kanila. Ito din yung mga multinational companies. So when we say climate justice, that means they have to recognize their responsibility, that they have the bigger responsibility to solve this crisis. So kailangan mas malakas at mas drastic yung actions nila para ma-reduce yung carbon dioxide emissions nila. That way, yung mga countries na underdeveloped, they still have the chance to develop and to industrialize, and then eventually, pwede tayo, like the Philippines, can begin the just transition to renewable energy sources. Pero before all that can happen, yung mga multinational companies at yung mga first world countries, sila yung mas may responsibility talaga. Sila, nasa kanila yung mabigat na role na bawasan drastically yung carbon dioxide emissions nila.
Alright, so ito yung para masolusyonan natin ang nangyayaring crisis sa climate crisis, in other words. So, tama ba? Sinasabi mo, kailangan mabalanse ngayon, pero mas may responsibilidad yung mga mas malalaking mga bansa para maisaayos, para mabigyan ng oportunidad yung mga third world countries, for example, ng Philippines, to catch up kasi this is an evolving globalization at kailangan ding gawin ng mga bansang ito. Pero may tanong ko, Miss Mitzi, tayo bilang mga kabataan, ano po ba yung maitutulong natin sa ating kalikasan para mapunan natin itong tinatawag na climate crisis?
Malaki actually yung role ng kabataan since tayo ang kabataan ng tagapagmana ng Pilipinas, ng mundo. Tayo yung pinaka-maka-experience in the long run ng impacts ng climate change. So nasa atin talaga yung push at yung drive para labanan to. So just 2019, nagkaroon ng global movement all over the world. Thousands of youth would go to the streets, tapos nag-call for climate justice, nag-call for climate action, and that's something that's really powerful. Yung iba sa atin ay wala pang capacity to vote, wala pang capacity to create laws and to push these policies, pero nasa atin yung boses, nasa atin yung lakas, nasa atin yung oras para spreading awareness about this climate crisis, para ma-encourage yung other people to know more about it and to really push for more policies na mas environmentally friendly and mas pro-people through collective action, not just in the streets, pero that's very important, but also through lobbying and having conversations with the departments that are needed.
Naintindihan ko, Ms. Mitsina, it's a bigger picture. We need policies, we need laws to protect the environment. Pero to concretize, ano yung mga maliliit na bagay na maaaring gawin ng ating mga schoolmates sa kanilang mga bahay-bahay, kung nasaan man sila para makatulong sa para masolusyonan ang climate crisis?
The first step that you can really do is to educate yourself. So ang dami ng resources online about this, and there are so many programs like this one na pinag-uusapan yung climate crisis, and isang malaking powerful step yung education and just raising awareness to not just yourself but your friends, other people, and then from there you can also start learning more about the climate crisis. And the climate crisis kasi may maitutulong naman yung individual actions, pero pinapakita na ng scientific studies na hindi enough yung individual actions. Kailangan mo talaga ng systemic change. Pero sa individual actions, simple things like pagpatay ng ilaw, pagtanggal ng saksakan kapag hindi na ginagamit. A very big thing that could help actually is if you can convince your school to go to renewable energy sources. Kung yari isang classroom nyo or yung ilaw nyo sa classrooms nyo, imbes na yung normal electricity yung ginagamit, magawan nyo ng paraan na solar naman siya instead. So these are small things na if you do it together, malaki din yung maitutulong niya. Pero we have to remember that in the end, if you really want to change what's happening, if you really want this systemic problem to be solved, we need a systemic solution. So we need to do this all together. We need to band together and really collectively demand for a change in the way that we're doing things.
Tama. Maraming salamat, Miss Mitzi. Marami po kaming natutunan patungkol sa climate crisis at paano masolusyonan ito. The bigger picture, we need policies, we need laws to contribute in the change in the system with regard to the environment. Maraming salamat. So, schoolmates, marami pa tayong pag-uusapan mamaya, kaya dyan lang kayo at magbabalik ang Schoolmates!